All right, well, Pastor, yesterday you started a new sermon series, so we're going to be walking through the miracles of Jesus. So yesterday you tackled the miracle of changing the water into wine. You made several points about this miracle. Well, this miracle is the first of Jesus' miracles, and it comes about in a very interesting way after a conversation with his mom. Jesus would do a first miracle. Why this one? And why this way?
Okay, well, I love what we're doing here because it gives us an opportunity to say some things that we didn't say Sunday, and this is pretty significant. I didn't mention this because we just had only so much time, but the miracles of Jesus sometimes set up very differently. We're going to see that in the coming miracles. This one is essentially a family event. Jesus and his mom are invited to a family event, this wedding of the family member. Not a family member, but maybe a friend, and so Jesus and his disciples are invited also to come to the event. He's not in charge of the event. He's not expected to do any of the event other than just come and celebrate with his family. And he walks on the scene of this event, and his mom just immediately kind of throws him under the bus, so to speak. She says, "Jesus, they have no wine." This event, this amazing celebrative event, is going downhill because they have run out of wine. And I think the conversation he has with Mary right off the bat is essentially, "Woman, what does this have to do with me?" Or what do you, your concern about this event, why does it have to affect me? And it's not disrespectful, but I think this first miracle, in a spontaneous way, I mean, this is just an event that happens. It wasn't any specific event, but God chose to use it as an opportunity to communicate a sign about Jesus' glory. And one of the main ways that this particular event displays that is the fact that Jesus is just laying out the rules for miracles. He's laying out the rules, saying when miracles happen, when I, as Jesus, as God the Son, when I begin to act in life and the needs of human needs that I'm going to begin to come in contact with, when I choose to remedy those in some way or act out in power and compassion, I'm going to do that under the guidance and the instruction of the Father. Yeah. And that isn't that a kind of a pattern for us, right? That's kind of tells us, Jesus saying, the acts of power, they are meant for God's glory, not for our glory. And so I think this particular miracle, it's the first miracle. He had to do a first miracle, and this one is kind of in a category of humans messed up, humans inconvenienced, humans are doing things that actually are kind of disgraceful and shameful in the sense of breaking promises, creating hardship of other people. Jesus chose to actually intervene in a gracious way. And so I think it helped lay the groundwork for miracles are God's idea, not ours.
Right. Very good. Hey, so the miracle is an amazing transformation from water into wine.
It is.
Well, what's wrong with drinking water? And why choose to make a perfectly good water into wine? Is there something else going on here?
Okay. We love water, right? I mean, you're a runner.
Absolutely.
You run marathons, and you know you've got to have water. You've got to have nutrients to sustain you. We're kind of in an era of water. Okay, Jesus, okay, he's the creator. Water is going to be another metaphor later. He's going to describe himself as living water. So this could have been an opportunity for him to say, instead of wine, I'm going to give you water, okay? But instead, he fills up these purifying jars with water, okay? They completely load them up, 20, 30 gallons, these 6 jars, and instead he chooses to act in a way in which when they deliver the water to the maitre d', it's changed into wine. And not just decent wine, not just okay wine, but the maitre d' turns to the bridegroom and says, whoa, you have done something amazing here. You have brought the best wine. And I think Jesus views wine in this kind of a celebration, particularly related to weddings. Weddings accompanied by wine. It was expected to be part of the celebration. I would say wine is kind of like, it's a metaphor for the joy, the exuberance, right?
Right.
And I would say this, I don't drink, but I'm saying the wine in a sense has to do with exuberance and joy and lightheartedness. Jesus, interesting in the Lord's table, he partakes of the wine, the cup of the wine. He lifts up and says, "This is my body," which is, this is my body, the bread rather. This is my body. And then he holds up the cup. This cup of wine is my blood that is poured out for the forgiveness of sins. And he says, I'm not going to drink this again until I'm in the kingdom of my Father. Okay, so wine has to do with not just exuberance, but it's exuberance that's going to be bought and paid for by the blood of Jesus Christ. So I think Jesus is seeing, here's an opportunity to actually celebrate the joy of wedding, but then in the future, we're viewed as one day being part of the wedding supper of the Lamb, and Jesus entering into the kingdom saying, he's not holding up water, he's saying, I'm holding up a glass of wine. It has to do with the great joy and exuberance. So I think he did this. Of course, there was a contract. We talked about that as far as the obligation of the bridegroom to actually put wine and have wine for every guest for the duration of the wedding. But I think he's also saying this is a metaphor for the future kingdom of joy and celebration that's going to be exhibited there. So perhaps that's an idea.
That's good. That's good. All right, so we've looked a little deeper into this miracle and the possible meanings of what Jesus accomplished. Isn't there a more simple explanation found in Jesus choosing to completely remedy a profoundly sad situation with his compassion and his power?
I think so. There's commentaries, there's a lot that goes into the depth. This is called a sign miracle. So when John calls it a sign miracle, he's saying there's some things going on here that are deeper than you would expect. And I think we've looked at some of those things. But on the other hand, it's just simply Jesus, like I mentioned, we talked before, walking into a scenario that is actually about to get profoundly sad. And that is, the humans have worked together, they've done their best, and the expectation for this moment, for this bride and this bridegroom, they're about to be very disappointed.
Going downhill.
It's going to go downhill, and it's going to go downhill for human error. We don't know why the wine drank out. They didn't plan correctly. Somebody, spilled bottles of wine. We don't know why there's a deficit of wine here. But in our human sense, we just know that when we think about the greatest of events or our expectations, we're going to take this cruise, or we're going to take this vacation, or we're going to have this surprise party. In the back of our minds, we just kind of know it might not be as satisfying as we think it is. A great movie that we've been looking forward to seeing by somebody who's made great movies in the past, and we go there and we sit there and we watch it, and we're like, this is a waste of money. I'm so disappointed that they really did not do a good job here. And I think this scenario is just simply the expectation. You listen to the maitre d', right? The maitre d' in the scripture, he says basically, he calls the bridegroom, and he says, you've messed with the norm here. He says, everyone sets out the fine wine first in chapter 2, verse 10. Then after people have drunk the inferior. Okay? He's already saying, here's the way we do things around here. We put the good out, and then it goes down when people are too drunk to actually know the difference. Jesus, on the other hand, is saying this is profoundly sad. The image of marriage was an original creative idea. It was beautiful, it was perfect, and here we are in a remnant of that beauty, and it's about to go downhill. And Jesus says, no, I'm about restoring that wonder, restoring. And I think he looks for opportunity. I think he does in our own lives. And I know you've experienced that too, where there's been maybe profound disappointment and loss, and something you hoped for, something you dreamed for, something you expected, and it did not play out. And there's wounds there. There's sadness there, and I think that's where Jesus wants to go. So,
I'm going to throw one at you off the cuff.
okay, oh boy.
one of the most interesting things I thought you said yesterday, and you said it 2 or 3 times, was that Mary, when she was talking to the servants, she said, just do what he says.
That's right.
Just do what he says.
Just do what he says. And I think that statement is her relinquishing the human sense of control. I think Mary was saying, there's a problem here. I want to do something about it, and I'm going to turn to my oldest son and have him remedy. Jesus says, you're coming on my territory. I don't act this way. And ultimately, he said, it's not my hour, right? Mm-hmm. And that's a really profound statement, just simply saying there's a guidance that's going to take place here that's going to culminate with with the cross and with the resurrection. But then she turns to the servants and says, just do what he says. Yeah. And I think that's a good word for us in our time of need, in our loss, in our bankruptcy sometimes. It's hard to get to. It's incredibly humbling, either to confess our sinfulness that's got us in the condition we're in, or it has to do with the sinfulness of others that have affected and blown our lives apart or brought about deep loss. And we just can't rebuild it. We can't restore. But I have seen that, and I know you have too, that sense of you just have to just say, I've got to stop struggling here, Jesus. I'm drowning, but I come to a point like if anything good is going to happen here, if there's any change or transformation, it's going to be because you do it. Yeah. And absolutely. Then in that posture, we're ready to respond to whatever he says is the next step. And that next step, it's hard, it's profound, it takes great faith, but it is the step out of the cave.
That's right.
Back out to the light.
That's right.
So
awesome.
Good point and good thought. Yeah. Redeeming.
Yeah, very good. Well, hey, listen, we hope you enjoyed this. This is going to be a weekly thing. We're going to take a little time just to go a little deeper, and we're going to call it After the Message, because there's always more thoughts after a message. So we, again, hope you look forward to this. Tune in, tell your friends, share it. Share it on your Facebook page, and we'll see you again next week. Have a great week.